This is Dr. Charles Diako, and he's a senior lecturer in food technology at Massey University in New Zealand. Now, am I right in saying that you grew up in Ghana, West Africa?
Yes,
Yes,
exactly
and you've
where.
traveled all around the world. I know that about you.
Right.
You've done your study and PhDs all around the world, and now you're in New Zealand, and
Yes.
you're now currently in Palmerston North in the Manawatu region, which is in the
Yeah.
lower half of New Zealand. And you teach food product development and sensory science, which is really
That's
cool.
correct.
So Charles' teaching and research is focused on the enhancement of food quality through consumer perception studies and the application of innovative analytical and sensory techniques to understand the physical, chemical, and sensory properties of food and beverages. He is published in leading international peer-reviewed journals in food science, which is very incredible and exciting, pharmaceutical science, and applied mathematics. Charles is passionate about food and beverages from different cultures, and you'll find him reading a thrill from one of his favorite authors in his free time. Over to you, Dr. Charles Diako.
Thank you very much, Sally. Let me just share my screen. And here we go. Thank you very much, everyone. And I'm happy to be here today to talk to you about a subject that is super important to our very existence, and that is food. I'm here to take you on a journey from the past into the future and to examine the possibility of how technology will turn bugs and beakers into dinner in the future for you. So I'm going to give you a peek through the looking glass and see what the future holds for us. Now, what do we mean by the future? Let me drop my laser pointer. What do we define by the future? For some people, the future is tomorrow or next year. The chances are that tomorrow things might not be as different as they are today. Next year will be maybe slightly different. But when we talk about the 21st century, from now, 2024, up until 2099, things might be quite different. And then looking at the millennium and beyond, things might be really, really different. So for today, what you're going to talk about is looking at developments in this 21st century from 2024 right up until 2099. How is food going to look like? So before I take into the future, let's go back into the past. Let's start from the past. Now, if you like science fiction, you will be very fascinated by the Jetsons. The Jetsons is an animated sitcom that was started in the 60s, 1960s, where they were looking at a futuristic world in 2060. And here you have George, his wife, Jane, Judy, and then you have Elroy and their family dog, Astro. They live in this futuristic world where their life was just one of a complete luxury, where they ate food from a press of a button. They flew, they drove flying cars, and they had a robot that served them food and cleaned their house for them. Now, this animated sitcom predicted so many things, including the use of video conferencing. So here you have George calling Mr. Spacely, and that is a video conference. And today we have video conferences. Some of you are listening to me over this Teams meeting, and that's a kind of video conferencing as well. They also predicted flying cars, and then today there is companies who are making and developing flying cars. I heard one was tested 2 days ago in China to see how flying cars go. Now, as you see, there is a question whether they also predicted food. And of course, they did predict food. They said in 2060, food will be a meal in a pill, where you have a complete food, your big steak or your chicken or the turkey just comes in a pill. You take it, drop it in your mouth and chase it down with water, swallow it and go like, that that steak was well done. So but even though at this point we can see pills in a meal, they seem to be predicting the rise of nutraceuticals, which has grown up to become a big multi-billion dollar industry as of 2022. And so now looking into the future, we want to look at how our past is connecting into the future. So from the era of hunter-gatherers right through to domestication of cattle, and the passing of food traditions through the generations, the food that we eat, our food chain, was established through thousands and thousands of years, and it has proven to be remarkably resilient. Now, as we look into the future, new culinary experiences that we get through travel, immigration, globalization, this continue to provide an exciting experience of what the future is going to look like. But the transformation of our food chain as we see it has been made possible through technology. And now, from plowing right through to the first combine harvester in 1835, through to technology like pickling, that was now transformed into different, in many areas, to the development of pasteurization in terms of advanced food processing, through from the breeding of plants and right through to the development of the first genetically modified food in 1992. Technology has helped us evolve and adapt what we eat in accordance with what we want and what we need and what our expectations are. And because of technology, we have improved the efficiency of food production. We have improved how we add value to food. We have improved how we produce high volumes. We have improved the safety of food. Now, this story at this point looks really nice, but there is a challenge that is lurking in the corner. Now, this is our planet, and this is where we call home. This planet has helped us or kept us alive for thousands and thousands of years. But in the next couple of years, in 2050, there's going to be about 10 billion people on this planet. And this 10 billion people comes with a few issues like urbanization. There's a lot of people going to be in the urban areas and continuing issues of malnutrition. Now, talking about malnutrition, the data from the Sustainable Nutrition Initiative here at Massey predicted that in 2050, um, the requirement for protein will not be as different as what we have currently. And also the safe range of intake will not be as different. But the problem is with the distribution, how we equitably distribute nutrients and food across the globe. So Western countries eat a lot more protein than they need. But in many other countries, they have less than what they want. So the issue now is with how can we equitably distribute food so that everybody can get something to eat. Now, this is just one side of the equation. The other side is the impact of climate events on food production. The intensification of natural hazards as a result of climate change has taken a big toll on the agricultural sector from 2004 to 2013, from droughts in Uganda and Kenya, through to floods that affected Colombia, Pakistan, and Thailand, and storms that affected Yemen and Philippines, and tsunami that occurred in Indonesia within that period, 2004 to 2013, has led to billions and billions of losses in food. In the light of these disasters and inequity in food distribution, if we as humans are planning to live on this earth for the next millennium and beyond, we need to make our food systems more efficient, more inclusive, and more resilient. Well, the Western world is now going to give up its meat production, animal protein intake. So as the population grows, consumption of animal protein will increase. So we need to encourage consumption of alternative proteins. And where there are micronutrient deficiencies, we have to develop alternative sources of micronutrient fortified food that can then be distributed globally so everyone can get food to eat in the years to come. So, how is food going to look like? Let's look at peek through the glass and see how it's going to look like. Now, in the next couple of years, imagine that when you are hungry, you just print the food you want. You print the food just for you, tailor-made to your tastes and nutritional needs. That is 3D food printing. Custom meals, you can have your nutrients you need, the micronutrients and all the macronutrients you need. You print it and you eat the food. We can reduce food waste by using ingredients that might otherwise be thrown away. You just print it and then you have your food. Companies like Natural Machines and River Foods are already doing stuff like this. This is 100% vegan salmon fillet. This is from plants. It looks yummy and good. And this is already happening. We are looking into the future where every home will have their own printer and you print whatever you want, calculate the nutrients you need, print, and you're good to go. Now, the other area of possible exploitation is insects. Is insects the future superfood? Eating insects might sound weird to some people, but it is normal in many cultures. I've eaten crickets before. You just get a cricket, you roast it, you season it with salt, and you crunch it. It's totally nice and edible. Okay, so crickets, mealworms are very rich in protein and vitamins. They are easy to farm. You don't need much land, you don't need much water, you don't need much food like you do for livestock. So this will prove to be a very, very good food for us in the future. And companies like Entom Farms are already doing cricket powder that you can put into your bread or muffins. You can put stuff into that to enrich the protein. Okay. Now, if you don't want to eat crickets, you don't want to eat insects, well, there's another alternative in the future that's known as lab-grown meat. Okay, is that the future of protein where you take a few cells from live animals, you put them into a bioreactor, feed it, and then it grows the meat in a shorter time that you might have livestock grow years and years and years. All right. So that is lab-grown meat. And some companies are already doing that. Mosa meat in the Netherlands. There's this real burger from beef that is not from slaughtered cow. It is just grown in the lab that you can eat. And they are pioneering a cleaner kind of way of making beef. Now, other sources of protein, plant protein, could also be exploited. So we can harness the power of the sea and the ocean to feed the world. Algae have a lot of protein, about 60% or more, sometimes protein you can find in algae. These are common sources like spirulina. It is a very important algae that is nutrient dense that can be used. Seaweed, for instance, the brown, the green, and the red, they are made up of varying amounts of protein content that can be harvested and used. Now we need the food technologies to transform all these resources into yummy food that can then be used to feed the world. There is another possibility in the future where the next bowl of salad comes right from the sky. It's called vertical farming or indoor farming. Okay, how about walking into your city center and all the skyscrapers have all these vegetables growing on top of the skyscrapers without the soil. It uses a technology without soil, but then you grow your greens. So that is another possibility in the future where we can have salads from the very center of our cities through vertical farming. Companies like Sky Greens in Singapore already doing stuff like this. Now, whether you make meat from the lab or you produce a food from crickets, or you get your algae or seaweed, and then you make a food, you need to see if consumers will accept it. If we want to feed the world, we want to make sure that the consumer values are also researched into. So Consumer consumer research is really important in terms of determining how food will be accepted in the future. And here in Massey University, we have a state-of-the-art sensory facilities where we test foods through traditional approaches. You come into a sensory booth, you sit down there or yourself and you eat the food, you test the food, and then you give us your opinions about that. There are more realistic approaches as well, where we're looking at augmented reality, where we can create an environment for you to be in that environment and eat the food and see if the context affect how people like foods. So there is augmented reality. We use a HoloLens, or we can have an immersive space. We create this in the lab. This thing you see here was created in the lab. You just have a projection where it's an immersive space where you have outdoors, the sound and everything to see how consuming food in that environment would taste like. We can even create the beach scene. As you can see, this was created. This is the lab right here in the on the Manawatu campus, where we create all these context so that we can test food. So in the future, we want to create a context where people are flying or they are on a different planet. We can create a context and see how food would taste like. Now, there are still big questions to answer. As you can see, if you want to go vertical farming, it is all greens and salads. Yep. How about your tree fruits? How about your oranges? How do you grow that? Lab scale or lab grown meat, how is it scalable? Can we make it big enough to feed the whole world? How about consumer perceptions and values? These are big questions. And who are the people who can develop all these food products to feed our nation? It is you. That is why tonight I'm reaching out to you, inviting you over to Massey University, where you can feed your mind, and then we can feed our nations. All those coming from different parts of the world can feed our nations, and then we can feed our world. Thank you very much, Sally, and I will bring it back to you. Thank you.